5+5 game with black against a 1948. I think we've been having a lot of black games lately. So we're seeing a lot of the Sicilian. And a very early f4. Okay. That's new, but the point is that they want to play knight f3 after they've already pushed the pawn. I don't believe there should be anything deterring us from g6. Okay, but c4 is very odd, because now there's a big hole on d4 that we may not be able to take great advantage of. But potentially long-term, we could drop a piece there. Hesitating on knight f6, because if they play e5, I don't really know where that knight's supposed to go, so this is probably going to be aligned with e6 and knight e7. I know there's at least one case where we mentioned that a knight on e7 stops this pawn from pushing further to f4. And we'll see, maybe just like an e6, d6, b6, knight e7, bishop b7. Should be very solid. I don't know if we'll ever get through d5 with a lot of effect. We could, since we're playing this e6 anyways. Yeah, and I was thinking if they play something like with bishop e3, then I would lean b6 as the move we're always playing, and then we can still come back to d5 after that. But so far I think just knight e7. If they play something with knight b5, then we might switch to d6. But ahead of that, I think we stay with b6. Okay, so they want a castle, we also want to castle. Is there any chance we go queenside? I'd say pretty unlikely. Could argue d5 right away. I don't know if there's anything that could really deter us from that later. Like, they'd have to probably play e5, but then I think maybe our second knight gets a chance to come to f5, so maybe if we want it to be like really accurate, we could play d5 right away. But we'll castle first and then probably play that next. And then, yeah, I think it's either d5 or bishop b7. But I no longer see a reason to delay, and they can't ignore it, because then we push d4. And if we trade a bunch of things, then they just have a really backwards d3 pawn, coupled with that very strong square on d4. Which, if you have studied my positional course, you should be familiar with that pairing. That weak pawns very often have, for us, strong squares in front of them. So they could, I guess, try something with like bishop f2. And I think we would likely ignore these pawns. I mean, maybe they could try d4 as well. I haven't kept amazing track of what all is attacking that square. Do I want to leave the option for them to trade, for them to push d4? Because right now if they push, we trade off a bunch of stuff, and I don't know that it really benefits me. So I'm wondering if they even should have tried it on the last move. But I think I would rather play it myself. We have a full pawn chain. We are fixing this pawn. It's harder to attack since we're occupying this square with a pawn. But I don't feel bad about it. But where else are we going to progress? Do we just sit on b7? I don't think bishop a6 really helps. Not anytime soon. We could also try to argue something with like bishop g4. But I'm not 100% sure where I'm pushing. Like, I could even play f5. And if they push, argue that it's very nice for me to play knight d5, even though I give them a passed pawn. Kind of double-edged, but where else would I advance or apply pressure? Just kind of what we're always trying to do as a rule. Because, yeah, I'd take a lot of effort to try to get something with like b5 and c4. Okay, we'll try it. I'm not convinced it's great, but I feel like playing it. arguably could or should have played h6, stop anything with knight g5, maybe king h7, like if they're playing something with queen b3 check, but I figure at worst, something with queen e8 to overprotect f7. d2. Okay, so they are just redeveloping, possibly coming towards c4. I was going to say I might play h6, but am I able to just grab a pawn very suddenly? If I take on e4, then take on f4. Is that something they just kind of overlooked? Or am I not seeing something? There's not going to be like a bishop g3. I mean, unless they're combining that with a knight g5, like if we go takes, something takes, rook f4, queen b3, king h8, knight g5, or bishop g3, I think I was thinking, rook back, then knight g5. It's possible that's actually good for white, because I might not be able to stop knight f7 very happily. But it feels like something there's no way that should actually work out so well for white. Well, I'll take once at least. Okay, knight takes, I think, kind of hurts that idea for white, though, because now I can block on d5 if I really have to. Or even like as soon as they play queen b3, I'd probably play queen b5. So I thought pawn takes, and then if I remember later, I will investigate that. But this, I think I can just grab a pawn. And the knight g5s don't bother me so much. Yeah, so that's not unexpected. And I would think we're coming all the way back to f8. Because otherwise it's just running into more attacks from like a knight g5. So it's a more open board, but maybe that helps you see what I was talking about, like this combination with queen b3, knight g5. Because the reason it's so different than the first time I mentioned it is that if we're trading off the rooks, like if mine gets forced off of f8, that's supposed to be a piece that's protecting f7, and it obviously wouldn't be if it's off the board. I don't think I care if they put a piece on d6. I mean, bishop d6 could be slightly irritating. But because it doesn't make a threat, I have a move to do something that I want to, which could just be h6, as I described before. Possibly something with knight a5 to cover b3, or similarly bishop e6, then bishop d5. Okay, so they're trying to set it up. Something queen b3. Knight covers e6, so I can't put a rook there. Or a bishop there, rather. But do I just play h6 anyways? Because queen b3, again, as I've said, then I can play queen d5, I think, happily. If they trade rooks. No, is bishop takes, or should I take first, maybe? Either the bishop comes back, gets in the way of their other rook, or if the queen takes, then I might rather play queen f8. Although if their queen goes right back to d1, I'm not entirely clear how we'd follow that up. Maybe like a queen f5. Or honestly h6 again. Because like if we imagine like there's h6 on the board and they give this check, king h8, knight f7, you can play king h7 and there's no return check. Like with the second knight, maybe something pops up, but the point is you don't have to, answer a discovered check by playing your king, or walk into a discovered check by putting your king back on g8, if you can follow all of that. Okay, they do go bishop takes. So, not this right... Well, I could do it right away, I guess, because I do have this block on d5, just that obviously I can't play king h8, knight f7. And their bishop also can't come to f3, which is something I was thinking about earlier. So, okay, let's do this. See if they finally give this check. which I think would help me because queen d5 and they would have to trade queens because they have a piece hanging. But if the knight retreats, then I think I just have a very good position. I can finally fill in this diagonal with a nice bishop e6, and then we just work on converting the extra pawn. Let's see, I played a couple of really short-range attention games today where I was missing things beyond a couple moves, but I also played one really nice game to start, so let's quickly develop that. And I've also been eyeing knight d5, knight e3, if I get a good chance for that, or maybe knight f5, actually. Attack this bishop, unless I'm just encouraging it to cover e3, but I mean, they could do that anyways. Okay, attacks the knight, but the knight is protected. So how do I want to keep pushing up? Could play queen d5, could play bishop d5. I think I like bishop d5. If anyone's familiar with Yasser Seirawan talking about prime squares, this is one of them for the bishop. Just short of the center line, pointing in all directions. Overprotects this knight, so my second one is more free to move. Not likely to take on e4, but maybe at some point if I want to push the passed pawn, but unlikely with so many pieces on the board. And then, how do I finish with this? Maybe queen d7, then bring the rook over. Just a little cautious about walking into a pin. But that should be fine. Or I want to start with knight f5. Why don't we start with knight f5? I don't think there's much of a prospect for my queen in that direction. Squares are all covered. Could argue knight d6, try to trade the central knight. But I don't really want to do that right away. Could also play knight e5 straight up, rather than at this point. Okay, let's centralize the rook. Again, the only thing I have to be careful of, I think, is the loose queen, which I might try to switch over to f7, but then we have to be careful of knight d6. Honestly, knight b8 maybe isn't totally stupid. We'll see, my opponent's at least not way ahead on time. I've been aware that the a7 pawn is still protected. They shouldn't have any weird tactics. The rook's protected, so not like a knight f6 or a knight takes c5, though I should be aware of that. And no, I definitely don't want to trade this bishop for a knight. I can say that pretty confidently. I think I will try to trade queens. No, I won't, because then my rook would be hanging. Sorry, because queen takes... maybe that would have actually worked. I think this works tactically. Like knight takes, trade rooks, and then take on d6, but... got a little squirrely there for a second. Okay, knights I'm okay to trade. If I play bishop takes, I'm still okay with trading that. And this, I think I'm okay with too, because, yeah, they get a passed pawn, but now it's totally blocked up. If they give me a moment to play knight e5, then it's a much safer position for black. I appreciate getting in that one move to consolidate, and I don't think I can say no to that pawn. Knight is protected. We can happily play... I figure bishop takes, just so there's no bishop c6. Knight d3 is kind of a threat. Yeah, definitely with that then, because we get to trade their bishop. I don't know if I play bishop c6. It lets them play knight f6 check, trades a piece. Maybe we can give it check first, then play bishop c6. Or just bishop b5, like something to get the passed pawns rolling, I think. Yeah, maybe bishop b5. being a little bit clumsy with this later game, but I don't know. Rook behind a passed pawn. Just want the rook somewhere where it definitely can't be forked. So away from anything this knight can attack, and then I was going to say maybe d3, but maybe we can also push on this side, or maybe bishop a6, then b5, c4. I would have to make sure c5 is protected. Okay. Well, let's get this bishop up, and I really want to move this king, because I'm getting annoyed at these net f6 discoveries. So I want to play king g7, or bishop to f4. I like both of those. Maybe we'll do this right away. Sit a bishop in on e3. Don't really have to, but we'll do it. Because then rook f8, if I got a chance, would make things really easy, and this I think we won't say no to either. Could play king g7, but I think we're just going to run with the pawn. Check, king moves, they'd have to move the rook again. Okay, fine. We'll be extra safe for one more move. Guess. Doesn't really help me make a second passed pawn. I'd have to go, I can go a5, a4 maybe. That is okay. This is very clumsy technique, by the way. Yeah, really clumsy technique. Like if they play rook c2, I mean, I could probably even take on a4 at that point, given the bishop. And I'm not sure if they're thinking another discovery, but I'll be attacking their rook, so they won't have time to take my bishop. I think either way, king up or king back, f6 or f8. So I guess rook e1, trade bishops, and then we have more clarity again. But that's not going to work. Okay. So we'll skip the early conclusions today. I want to go a little faster with my analysis, not get too lost in the details. But we got this f4 Sicilian, so that is an other. And where does that check in? 5%, so I don't think we covered it on move 2. Where did we talk about f4? I'm able to find that easily. Here, I think, is the one that we did cover. It was after knight c3, which is not going to be like the game, because they played a much faster c4. But just for the type of setup that I guess we might play, bishop b5, let's say bishop c4 is maybe a little more to the point, where yeah, we play knight e7, and then it should be hard for them to stop us from getting in d5, because yeah, with the knight and the pawn support, it's vaguely like what we had in the game, just if this were a pawn instead of a bishop. And then I think it's actually pretty close. But they did not quite play that order, because they played this early c4, which, yeah, positionally, this should be bad. Like, it's very rare, I think, you get e4 and c4 with a pawn still sitting on d2. Like, if that pawn isn't there, it's not as bad. You just have a weaker square as opposed to a weak pawn. But this is not the kind of thing that should be great for white. So yeah, we start by just developing. Machine approved all the way through here, carrying our small advantage, but then okay, we are maybe supposed to play something other than b6, whether that's just a calmer d6 or even a faster knight d4. A little unexpected, but the point is they can't play a knight takes because you get a pawn fork, and if they have to give up the bishop, then you're saying, great, you've traded your probably very important dark square bishop, given where the pawns are all fixed, for a knight. So b6, did they have an opportunity for anything? Again, tricky to say with our depth of engine, but conceivably d4 is a moment where they could try to fix that pawn right away. Be pretty strange given that they just played d3, but it does have the extra support of the bishop, so sure, I guess you can argue something like that. Instead, we continue, and let me refresh, because I think it's move 8 the Lichess computer sometimes gets kind of stuck. But yeah, then we get to play d5. Was there any reason to do it the move before? No, it's about the same. Okay, so we can be pretty happy with this. I think I was considering if they could play d4 here. What was I missing with that? If we go pawn takes, knight takes, do I just have Yeah, I just have one too many attackers because I'm opening up the queen now. Okay. That is good to confirm. Knight f5 first, or yeah, you can take, and yeah, we have 3 defenders to 3 attackers, so we're doing fine with that trade. So no, they couldn't do that because we would take on e4 and that would open our queen. So they go back, d4, one of several good options. Knight back, and even f5. Okay, I'm very happy to see that shows up even at the very top. Along with, yeah, that precautionary h6. Which I think in retrospect, I wouldn't have minded playing that first, just because when I played f5, I wasn't 100% clear if we go queen b3, king h8, knight g5. Yeah, I was thinking queen e8. And it's good to know that that is sound for black. So if we continue, how does that change? Again, yeah, I do think, yeah, I should have thrown an h6 at some point, whether it was before or now, but I thought I could grab a pawn and get away with it, so we did try. And I definitely said pawn takes was better, because if we grab the pawn now, doesn't quite work out the way I was thinking, I guess. It's giving bishop c4 rather than queen to b3, but I would have had in mind something like this, with queen b3, knight g5. Okay. And if we look at that, the only way to avoid a problem on f7 is by playing knight f5, which is not something I had seen ahead of time. It was something I think I had said, it feels like it should be okay for black, like we should be able to do this, but the point is we have to do this where, yeah, they can take our knight, but then we take their knight. And that interferes with their rook for just a second compared to the previous version. We could play queen e8, but that doesn't work here because there's a rook on f1 that's attacking a couple of squares here. So that's what was all going through my head, however much of that you also looked at during the game. If they had played d takes, yeah, I don't know if I would have gone through with rook takes f4 or not. Because it's giving a couple better moves where they don't have to play queen b3, like I said. It likes bishop c4 even a little more, but okay, we'll leave that where it was. But knight takes definitely gives me better choices. Maybe still not rook takes f4, but just knight to d5. Just play it positionally instead of materially. Sure. It's interesting to me that we're still in some games on Lichess, 8 of them, it looks like, on move 14. It's kind of a surprise. So bishop comes back, knight g5. Okay, we did make a very good choice trading rooks. That is also good to see. Did I have an alternative here? I'm not sure I really did, but I mean, I've already started to explain why I think this rook is important now to help us guard the f7 square. I mean, you're still seeing a couple of queen b3s show up if we don't exchange. And the secondary point is if they play queen takes, even though it's better, okay, they're deflected away from this, so that's a big thing that I don't have to worry about. Although in saying that, we should probably still block the f-file by the looks of it. Bishop f5 or knight f5. I think knight f5 is fair enough. And then maybe we're still coming towards e3, we can still throw in this h6. They played bishop takes, h6. I was playing a little safe. I'm not surprised that, yeah, queen d5, knight d5, both moves that were under consideration throughout the game. And yeah, once we filled this in, I think we felt a lot better for a while. I got kind of clumsy after this, but we are up a pawn. I think we can argue we have more space. It's hard to say what 3 of white's 4 minor pieces are doing, plus the rook still in the corner, though that's also true for black. 83 right away, queen e7. Yeah, in retrospect, I'm not sure why I didn't play queen e7. I don't know if I was maybe thinking about rook e1, but I was also considering maybe queen f7, just to get away from the white queen. Would have felt more secure, because then I wouldn't have had that as the one loose piece in the position. And then, yeah, I got a little stupid for a second in time trouble, which it's definitely going to show up, it looks like. Okay. So, do I feel like I have to explain myself in the time scramble? Hard to say, but I think retrospectively I would probably just come back to somewhere around here and say I wish I had played queen f7 at some point to be safer, because we're going a little bit astray here, although white didn't really take advantage. I was definitely not thinking pawn takes. I had explained that it makes it much more solid for black again. And again, things are all very secure now. We're up a second pawn. Knight d3 helps us keep trading, which is great. And then, not entirely random moves, but a little bit inefficient, for sure. I don't think I've seen that one blunder yet that it identified. Yeah, so we'll see where I also mixed up myself here. Because yeah, I was just being really silly about how I get these pawns moving. I didn't want to play c4 because then my passed pawn becomes isolated. I wouldn't have a pawn to support it. So I was trying to engineer something like getting all of these pawns going just so I end up eventually with connected passed pawns, but I did it really, really ineffectively. I think in retrospect, just walking the king forward is a million times more sensible. Because they did come up with, I think, a good move. This bishop f1 was very confounding for a moment. Because I didn't want to take, and then the bishop is obviously hanging. I also can't push, but it feels like they're threatening to take and win a pawn, but rook b8 I didn't think really helped. I was thinking rook c2, actually. And I don't want to go back to protect it, because then this pawn drops. But I also don't want to let them take this pawn, so I felt like I had messed something up there. So in retrospect, yeah, and I didn't want to play c4, because then they take here, and then I thought I was losing this pawn, but you can even be saying that you're up 2 pawns, but okay, then we even have a bit of a resource here with c3, and then we do in fact get our connected passed pawns, and if they move the rook, we move the bishop, and these pawns aren't very effective. So we've just accomplished our goal, basically. Because we can ignore everything further east on B and A files. But yeah, after that, I mean, they blundered a piece, so that was that. Okay, so if I want to take away for this game, what should it be? I mean, the opening went pretty well. I don't think I have a lot to criticize. Like, we got a very good position, very stable 2/3 of a pawn advantage. Didn't even do that badly, seeing all of the tactics. Like, I was never actually worse, I don't think, right? I don't know if we check our graph. Yeah, I was never worse after move 2, as soon as they played f4, so that's good. Just that, yeah, I mean, as far as mistakes made, not a lot to say, honestly. Just that I got clumsy about leaving loose pieces and feeling a little bit shaky with my position, which I could have done better at 1 or 2 moments, but even then it was never as severe as it might have felt at times. So, okay, that's all for today's Sicilian game. I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you for the next video soon.